welcome on into Drinks with Binks. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks, and like we do every week, we have awesome guests in the sports and media world, and we usually get a little bit tipsy, and we're so excited to have the Executive Vice President of Collaboratory, Chief Content Officer, formerly of ESPN, Michael Smith, here with us on the show. Oh, yeah. You can see me reading in my head
nice
what
job
that
with
is.
that, Julie.
Hey, man, you work for the title. You deserve every letter of it.
Oh, thank you.
And so on the show, as we mentioned, we got to have some drinks.
Yes, that's why I came.
Yeah, that's
obviously, you know, in addition to the company, I came to drink free liquor.
Awesome. Okay, well, what are we drinking today?
We're drinking Hennessy. Anything is possible. Anything could happen. Hennessy and lemonade.
Oh, awesome.
And your staff got Tropicana lemonade, which is good.
Yeah, which is good.
Simply or Tropicana.
Our staff does everything.
So have you ever had Hennessy before, first and foremost?
Nope.
That's definitely a black man's drink, okay? So this is good. This is a good cultural experience.
I know.
For you.
I like this.
So you got Hennessy. So you never had Hennessy with lemonade, obviously.
No, this
You
is
take the first sip and tell me what you think. Be honest, okay?
Be honest. I took a bigger sip than I thought I was going to take.
Yeah, it's for grown. It's for grown folks.
But you know what? That's really smooth. That's the lemonade that really curbs what I would imagine to be like a lot of fire in my mouth.
Yeah, but it's good though, huh?
Oh, yeah, that's really good.
Yeah, put some air on your chest. I don't drink too much.
Yeah, well, great, because I could use more of it. So we are going to, let's toast first before.
Cheers.
Yes, yes, cheers.
To you, Julie.
No, to you, Michael. You tell me what we're toasting to today.
To you is just easy.
Okay, yeah, to new beginnings. To life.
Life.
All right.
The freedom to be on air drinking alcohol. Let me tell you. Look, I've drank on TV before, but not alcohol.
We made this. Yeah. I mean, we made this, and we made it. It's
good. Whoever, cheers
really
to the bartender.
Mike Lockyer. Mike made this. Danielle bought the substances, so that was great.
I can get a refill, right?
Oh,
I'm about to down this joint.
Yeah, all right. Yeah, refill. We're 2 minutes into the 46-minute show. Let's go. Okay, where are we going to be drinking this drink today, Michael?
Why don't you take me to Santorini?
Oh, great.
To Greece. I've never been.
And there she is, right behind you.
I saw it on Sarah Spain's Instagram. So that's all I know about. I'm like, I want to go there.
Pretty good.
Yeah, she went on vacation. I'm like, I'm going there. I'm like, babe, we go out to my wife, not Sarah. Like, babe, we going there. My wife's name is Sarah too, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I'm like, yo, we going there. So I don't know where Sarah went, but when I go spend a shit ton of, I can curse, right?
Yeah.
When I go spend a shit ton of money where she went, she should get commission or some kind of kickback because I learned about it from her Instagram.
But that's like Santorini is Instagram. I mean, that's especially in the summer. It seemed as though everyone went there, and it's kind of this classic infinity pool.
Yeah, right.
The extends forever. I don't know what anyone else would do in Santorini other than drink and be in the pool, which is, I mean,
I think you should have
what
a
else?
Drinks with Binks special.
Yeah. I think that's season 2 is what my boss Pam told me is she guaranteed we're going to travel around the world and do Drinks with Binks.
This show has so much
I'm
potential.
announcing that now here right now. I'm
potential.
really excited.
Hey, bartender?
Yeah, bartender. All right, A block. We're having another Henny.
Yeah.
And so the fact is, I know you would like to probably go to Santorini, but you just started a new job.
I did, yeah.
So you got to be pretty excited about it.
Julie, I am energized in a way that I've never been. Like a lot of people that have talked to me and was like, oh, I hear the old Michael. I'm like, but here's the thing, this is a whole new Michael. So you got to understand, I grew up at ESPN, like literally grew up at ESPN. Like most people say I grew up on ESPN. I got to ESPN when I was 25 years old.
Wow.
I'm 40 now, so I spent the last 15 years navigating that Bristol, Connecticut bubble. And so, now that I'm on the outside, I feel like I've been unplugged from the Matrix. I feel like I'm no longer an agent of this system. Like Agent Smith is a new man, so to speak. I am just like, I'm free mentally, emotionally, creatively, in ways that I could never have imagined from the inside. So to say I'm excited is an understatement. Can you tell how excited I am?
Yeah, you are.
Can you smell the freedom on me?
I can smell the Hennessy on you too right now. Yeah, good. But it's fascinating you say that, and I want to focus on what you're doing right now, and we'll talk about ESPN in a second.
Sure.
But you say you're unplugged, you're re-energized. Tell me exactly what that looks like, and that feels like versus what you had before.
Well, and listen, I had some awesome years and awesome experiences at ESPN. Make no mistake about it. But it's just different when you're working for yourself, when you're autonomous, when you're more or less your own boss. Like I said when I left that I was never working for anybody again. I'm working with people now. Mm-hmm. So often confusingly so, I refer to Jamie Messler and Basil Iwaniak as my partners, and people are like, oh, no. I'm like, no, my wife's at home. Like these are the people I work with as in my business partners, right? So, Yeah, it's just, and what's interesting though too, and I'm still on air talent. I haven't retired. I haven't hung up my IFB. And I'm not, I put it up in the rafters or nothing like that. I'm still on air talent, but what's the biggest adjustment, and you'll appreciate this as somebody who is doing television, every day. It's like, to not see the results of my work daily and get to do it again the next day and the next day and rinse and repeat is interesting, because now my schedule is, that's why I'm so overdressed for this show, because I just came from like a lunch meeting. It's call, lunch, call, lunch, call, lunch. And you're like, well, did anything come of this? Was this productive? Was this a good use of time? Maybe we'll see in 6 months, maybe not.
Right.
Maybe we get this project made, maybe we don't. Or maybe it's a relationship that leads to something else. So I'm networking differently, I'm thinking differently, my wheels are turning in a different way. I'm using the calendar app on my phone literally for the first time, because I never had to keep a calendar.
Right, because you just knew when you had to be on air.
Show was on at noon or 6 o'clock, and I knew where I was going, and I had a routine. Now it is constant, just in returning emails and phone calls in a much more timely manner than I did before. So yeah,
you're a business.
I'm a businessman. I'm a businessman, like for real, and it's exciting. It's just something new, and that's what I was looking for, Julie. Was something new, exciting, refreshing. Evolution and growth at this point in my life and career.
Well, that's the thing. You mentioned that you grew up there. You're there for 15 years. It can. Yeah, you could. Yeah. It can kind of get stagnant, just like in who you are as a person, right? Like you're surrounded by similar people. You're surrounded by similar mindsets and ways of thinking. And then, as you said, you break free and you say, oh, this is the rest of the world. Like, this is us here. We're at fuboTV. We're doing things a little bit differently than a traditional media network would. Now, tell us exactly what Collaboratory is.
Great. Thank you for asking. So Collaboratory, and a lot of it is in the name. Take off.
I like the name.
Yeah, Collaborate and Laboratory. So we are a studio and content incubator based in Culver City, California. We're uniquely positioned at the intersection of sports and entertainment. And that goes back to our co-founders, which we have in common a little 6 degrees of separation, talking about off camera, with Jamie Messler, who co-founded the Players Tribune with Derek Jeter, and also spent years representing athletes at Excel Management. So she's got real deep roots in the sports world. Obviously, my background as a commentator, anchor, host, reporter, so on and so forth at ESPN for 15 years. And then we have Basil Iwaniak, who is the founder of Thunder Road Pictures. So you may be familiar with Thunder Road from such films as The Town, the John Wick franchise, A Star is Born with Bradley Cooper and Lady Gaga, Sicario. So he's a Hollywood heavyweight, right? So you see this trend happening with athletes really, leaning into developing, owning, and distributing their own content, led by the likes of LeBron James and Steph Curry, right? But there's so many athletes in particular, and we're not exclusive to athletes. Like, I love to work with you, but like we got, athletes in particular who have ideas for projects, whether it's want to do podcasts, want to do docuseries, want to do scripted series, unscripted series, full-length feature films, whatever it is. They have these ideas, or they may want to have their own production company. Well, that's where we come in, whether it's, financing, giving them the infrastructure, the guidance, helping them when it comes to distribution. And that goes back to both our connections in the sports world and, again, in the entertainment world. So we're bringing those two worlds together with a new business model and really just collaborating with anybody. And this market is crazy. I mean, you look at the amount of platforms and buyers available and the insatiable appetite that exists for high quality sports content. I mean, this is the time to really strike when it comes to athletes and other creatives as well. I want to stress, it's not just, another Spring Hill Entertainment or another Uninterrupted or another Players Tribune. We are open to really trying to reimagine sports coverage alongside, in partnership, in collaboration with athletes and creatives and storytellers of all types.
Yeah, well, because there's so many different similarities between all of those different realms, and everyone wants authenticity too, and from a different vantage point. And you had a vantage point of a traditional media outlet for so long, and this has got to be something very interesting. We're going to talk more about your new venture in a second after we take this time out on Drinks with Binks. Hey guys, we're back on Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We got Michael Smith from Collaboratory, also formerly of ESPN. We're just discussing your new gig and how athletes and entertainers can all come together and sort of either you guys help them find a platform or they bring an idea to you. Right. Who's someone that you want to work with?
Oh,
Or who you'd like a realm or an area you'd like to dive into?
Athlete-wise, would love to work with Tom Brady. Would love to work with LeBron, all the big names, Steph. I mean, they have their own production companies, but I still think there's room for us to collaborate. Take a drink every time I say collaborate.
Okay. I'm going to be drunk.
But other guys,
Is that hard to do then? 'Cause it's like, oh, yeah, I'd love to have Oprah here.
Yeah. No, not in that space, because it's like, if you got an idea and a good one, there's so many different ways to get that idea developed, produced, and distributed. So if I got, a great idea for, a series, a dramatic series or whatever, and I want to partner with Maverick and LeBron, and it makes sense for them, we just write up a deal, figure out the splits on the back end, negotiate it real quick, and then we use that collective muscle to get it made. I mean, I'm not at liberty to necessarily say it, but we are in partnership with the Steph Curry. Did I mention Steph Curry? I don't think I did. I don't think I name dropped him. We are in partnership with Steph on a sequel to a very well-known movie, but that was able to come about because of, again, our co-founders' connections in Hollywood, right?
So they've got the Hollywood. You've got a lot of the sports connections.
Yeah, we got all the bases covered. But I'd also like to really get over and work with some of my favorites in Hollywood. I love to do something with Michael B. Jordan. I love to do something with guys that have had a lot of experience in doing sports movies and doing them well. I mean, Jamie Foxx, for my money, the greatest movie quarterback ever. So Willie Beeman. So I love to collaborate with some guys that I've been fans of, in the movie space, and do some kind of sports collaboration with them.
And so you said you're not hanging up. Yeah, you're gonna kill me on the show. Actually, I'm Canadian. Let's be honest, so it's not gonna do any damage. But you mentioned you're not going to hang up being.
Did they send you a ring?
On air? No, they should. Those mother. Should send me a ring. I have been carrying that Canadian flag, especially last year when no one gave them any credit. I'm sorry. A lot of people at your former place of work.
Jump on a bandwagon?
No. They were just like, this is my worst moment. I was thinking Stephen A. Smith talking about how the Bucks matched up against the Warriors when the Raptors were up in the series, and I was just like,
You mean Stephen A. was wrong?
No, there's no. Everyone hates Canadian sports here. Anyways, that's a different rant.
I'm here for it.
That's my rant of all time. Yeah. But you talked about being in front of the camera still, and of course, and what would you ever want to do, like acting or kind of do any of the Hollywood stuff?
Listen, the dream is to be able to cast myself in my own movie. Actually, I've already told Basil, again, our co-founder of Thunder Road Pictures, I'm like, look, at minimum, man, just let John Wick off me in chapter 4. You know what I mean? I at least want to get shot. He was like, please, everybody I know has been shot by John Wick. That's nothing. So at least I'm going to be in the next John Wick. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah.
But no, listen, I don't fancy myself as an actor. I enjoy trying it. I mean, one of the best things we did with His and Hers was some of our skits.
I love it.
I used to love doing that because I come from an entertaining family. My brother is actually a trained and working actor in L.A.
Okay.
And my stepfather's a musician. And so, I like entertaining as any way possible. I'm okay with being laughed with or at, within reason, the latter within reason. But yeah, so I would definitely like to give it a shot. But I understand that craft is not something you just do. You know what I mean? It's no different than people saying, "Oh, they just want to go and just be a broadcaster." It's like it's not as simple as you
go
think it is.
pay your dues in all these small towns, even though some people are better than you are now at it. And
that's
it's
true. They just don't have the opportunity. Yeah.
But you mentioned, I just have to say, I rewatched that Anchorman sketch you guys did. It was so well done.
Thank you.
It was, when you look, when you look at how much time and the resources that go into something like that.
Not that much, actually.
Really?
So if you remember the campus, that was behind a few buildings on campus. Nobody was there. It was empty. We got some props. It was about a 2-day shoot.
No way. Okay.
And we had, but the hardest part was working on everybody's show schedule.
Oh,
to get the ESPN talent to do it, they had to find the time to do it. But by that point, we had done, I think, we had done Coming to America. We had done Empire. We had done, I don't remember if we'd done Boys in the Hood or not, but we'd done a few skits to where people kind of knew what it was. It was like, oh, I want to be in one. And the thing I liked the best about that one in particular was the camaraderie and how it brought all the shows and all the talent together. Because there's a reputation, and you know this, and look, some of it's well-founded, but there's a reputation of infighting and jealousy and backstabbing and that sort of thing within ESPN among talent. It was nice for everybody to just kind of work together, come together, and have some fun. You know?
Yeah, we, Adnan Verk and I kind of discussed that last week, in that sometimes you do really get caught up in everything there because that world almost fosters it.
Yeah, like, very competitive.
Yeah, very, very competitive.
Only a few spots.
Yes,
Yeah.
It's like Tetris there in that regard.
You know what I compare it to? It's an amusement park. And every time slot is a particular ride. And the management there, they're just the conductors. And once you get off that ride, you're in the back of the line. Wow. And you can try to skip if you want. It might be a fight, but it's just one of those things. When you're on the ride, you're having a good time and you're riding the ride. But that's, people talk about it being a roller coaster. So that's why I was like, yeah, it's like, I got off my particular ride, and
and then try to figure out where to go.
Exactly.
How do you stay on the ride?
I mean, obviously that can be challenging. A lot of things are out of your control there, as you know. And it's no different than in most places. Well, I imagine. I've only worked at two places. I had a cup of coffee at the Boston Globe and then at ESPN. But a lot of it's, who's conducting it, who's in charge, what their vision is, what their agendas are. And then what's underrated, and I was telling you off camera that I hope you appreciate just I could already feel it just walking in here. You got a real good group of people around you. What's underrated is the chemistry, not just on air, because there was no question that, me and my former co-host, Jemele Hill, had amazing on-air chemistry. You have to have chemistry with the people behind the scenes. You have to have chemistry with your producers, everybody from your APs and your content associates all the way to your executive producers and your coordinating producers. You have to have chemistry. Everybody has to be pulling in the same direction. It cannot be about who gets the credit, who's in charge, whose idea gets executed. It's got to be about a rising tide floating all boats. So that's underrated in terms of just the amount of teamwork and togetherness it takes behind the scenes to make something successful so you can stay on that ride.
We have kind of like a big love situation going on here.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, we're all in a relationship.
That's awesome.
We took it to
that explains
level.
a lot. Yeah.
That's what we said. We wanted it to work. So, but yeah, no, I do appreciate that because, we mentioned you do get kind of caught up thinking, oh, I want this now, or this has to happen. We need more money. It's like, no. This is the fun stuff, right? Like we paint, well, not this set in particular, but our other show, we all were here painting the set. Everyone,
man.
Yeah, we're doing this kind of stuff.
You cannot put a price tag on that. Can't put a price tag on those memories.
On those memories, yeah. We can put a price tag on that set. It's
for sure. No, I just meant the period.
Yeah.
I just meant that period in time of the growth.
Yeah,
of
we're
the
getting
show.
all sentimental, and I'm trying not to be. I'm
gonna have you drunk and crying by the end of it. Trust me. You think you're interviewing me? It's actually the other way around.
No, I'm gonna have you crying as well. All right, guys, you better stay tuned. We're both gonna be in tears and more on Drinks with Binks from laughing. Hey guys, back on Drinks with Binks. We've got Michael Smith, EVP and Chief Content Creator Officer.
That Henny and Lemon. I thought you could hold your liquor.
Yeah, I
can. Have a show called Drinks with Binks.
It's just when the light comes on, I'm like...
Content something.
I know. I'm trying to be like myself on TV, and then I'm like, no, you're Julie at the bar, and it's just like Jekyll and Hyde.
Have you ever gotten hammered during the show? Like by the end of the show, you've been like, I don't know what I'm saying right now. You have?
Yeah. Our first show, which was great.
That's awesome. So your tolerance has been built up over time?
Hooligans. I could tell when Alexis, he had bourbon, and it was like all done, and he launched into a story.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, this is where we get good content.
I need to reload.
C block, we need to reload.
I might have to be careful. I'm supposed to be driving home tonight.
Yeah, so okay. Well, yikes.
By the way, I got to bring the off-camera conversation into this right now. How did somebody else come up with the name of this show? Like, how were you not a little girl dreaming of having a show called Drinks with Binks?
Labatt Blues.
Somebody had to tell you to do a show called Drinks with Binks?
And they did.
What kind of shit is that?
Well, to be honest.
Trademark this.
Okay, all right. Take a step back, mister. Okay?
I mean, seriously, I'm disappointed in you right now.
To be fair, I already had created a show called Julie Stewart-Binks at my last job.
Pretty good.
Where we would go around and just do weird drinking experiences around New York City.
Okay.
I actually thought about trademarking that, and then I was like, then I'm gonna have to trademark all the franchise, right? And then just got like too expensive.
Yeah.
Anyway, and so then my boss Pam, who has agreed to let us travel the world with this show I already announced.
I've gotten it.
Yeah, she. They were just like, when I got this job, they said you're also going to be doing the show Drinks with Thinks, and I was like,
holy shit.
That works with me.
When you DM me, when you slid in my DM,
yeah,
and you were
as
like,
I do, that's my move.
I was like, yes. And by the way, it is totally the greatest gift, I'm sure, with all this.
You're the only one. You're the only one
that said that?
who knew the names of my shows. You're like, oh, I know Call It a Night and Drinks and Things. I was like, well, that makes one out of every guest that we've ever had on the show. We had a guy on who didn't know the name of Call It a Night, and the title was right behind me.
So what did he call it?
He
Call it a day? Or,
yeah, whatever. He read it. Whatever.
No, I'm just happy I'm in your first 25 guests that I made the AP top 25.
It was tight. You know,
I mean, I've seen everybody on there. I was low key. I was like, should I ask her out? Or should I wait for her? I was like, shit, she asking everybody and mama.
Shooter's
got everybody and your mama on the show but me.
No. You should see everyone who's coming after you. Like, there's a lot of riffraff. We go downhill
once you got to me, I was
fast.
Like, desperate for guests, but hey, here I am.
No, I'm so pumped that you're in town and it worked out well.
Yes.
I do want to, kind of ask you about some stuff with ESPN, obviously.
Yep.
You're on the outside now, but when you look at it, you kind of mentioned ESPN as like your ex.
Yeah.
How do you see them right now on the outside?
I'm grateful. I'm sorry. How do I see them as it relates to me?
Okay, yeah.
How do I see them as a company?
How do you see them as it relates to you and your professional career?
Yep.
And then how do you see them as a company?
How do I see them as it relates to my professional career? I see them as the reason I'm sitting here with you right now, the reason you're interested in having me on the show, the reason I have a fancy title at Collaboratory. I appreciate the platform. I appreciate the experience. I appreciate the relationships. I appreciate even how it ended because, okay, going back, let's just stick with the relationship analogy. Truth be told, so somebody told me a long time ago, if you're always talent, you could always be replaced. So in the back of my mind, I always thought about some kind of hybrid or some kind of evolution into an executive role. That was always in the back of my mind. But that said, I did also think about, I'm going to leave this place before they get rid of me. That was always my goal. And I'm into even numbers, like the temperature has to be on even number on the thermostat. I pump to even numbers, even if it means the gas is spewing out of the tank. Doesn't matter. Got to get to zeros at the end of it. Or maybe a multiple of 5, something like that. But anyway, sorry, tangent.
Is that an OCD thing?
Probably.
Yeah.
So, anyway, 15 years, 40 years old, so funny, never knew it would happen like this, but a while back I started thinking, like, when I'm 40, I want to kind of reassess, what I want to do. And that's when things were going well at ESPN. So, but I'm glad that it ended the way it did, uncomfortably, awkwardly, painfully at times, because much like with a relationship, sometimes they got to break up with you, and it's the best thing that ever happened to you. But you wouldn't have walked away just based off the devil familiarity, comfort, history. You staying together for the kids, whatever. You got a house in each other's name, whatever it is, right? Likewise, sometimes somebody got to dog you. They got to cheat on you. Shit's got to go bad for you to leave. And then you get to the next person, you're like, oh my God, I'm so glad I got out of that relationship, even though there were some good things about that relationship, because now I'm in a better place that I would not have been. Because the last thing John Skipper told me before he left was, he said, Michael, you could be the Kobe Bryant of this place. He was like, you could spend your entire career here. Because again, I got in there when I was 25. So I had grown up there. And I think if not for the way it ended, I really believe that there was a subconscious level of complacency that would have set in. The platform, the status, the salary, the security. We love our house in our neighborhood in Connecticut. I wouldn't have left for a startup. I'd have never been inclined to meet Jamie and discuss the startup with her. I'd have probably been at the 50-year celebration. Maybe I'd have been on stage, maybe, right next to Berman or somebody. So so professionally, I'm thankful for everything that happened for me and to me at ESPN. As a company, how do I see him? As competition now, but I also not even competition. I shouldn't say competition. I see them as a buyer, and I see them as somebody that I want to do business with, that I want to develop content that they're inclined to buy, whether it's for linear ESPN or ESPN Plus or whatever it is. I see them as somebody that I want to be able to go back into those offices as chief content officer and executive vice president of Collaboratory and say, here, I have this project that I think you'd be interested in buying. So that's professionally how I see them. And as competition, as another entity in the marketplace, I see them as evolving, like all of us have to do. I mean, these streaming wars are changing everything. And so I think, Jimmy Pitaro and that team are doing everything they can to really make sure, because ESPN, to its credit, has always, again, been the worldwide leader in sports. And so I think they're trying not only to keep up with the evolution within the industry, but lead the way as best it can when it comes to evolving it within the industry.
But at the same point, you also said that there was no more room for growth for you there.
There was not, no. Yeah,
so
why not?
No, it just they seem to be maybe on the trajectory that you are. You said you might want to have them as a buyer, but that they being there in particular, you wouldn't have been able to be as creative.
Oh God, no. But that's specific to me and my circumstances. I mean, obviously, that's a lot to unpack. We're going to need more drinks and more time for that. Yeah. But it's in terms
we have
of
both of those things.
Yeah, but in terms of me, again, I've worn so many hats there. I've been a reporter. I've been an NFL insider. I've been an investigative reporter. I've been a host. I've been an anchor. I've been a personality. I've had my own show. I've anchored SportsCenter. It's like, how much was there for me to do?
Right.
But not just that. Frankly, there weren't a lot of opportunities available to me at this point, for whatever reason. They did not make the type of opportunities available to me that interested me or excited me in terms of continuing my relationship there. So it was a good time. It was a good time for both of us to part ways. I think, look, man, somebody also said everything ends badly, otherwise it wouldn't end. And so, there's no animus by any means, because I'm thankful, because again, if not in that position that I was in, that position of being able to step back from the daily grind, that hamster wheel, get off that ride and actually look around and say, wait, is this the park I want to be in, or do I want to go to another spot? Or what do I want to do? Because those 15 years flew by. I'm not in a position where I am now, where I'm freer and more energized and more excited to go to work than I've ever been.
Right. That is great. That's a great perspective to have right now.
Yeah.
We're going to have a whole lot more on all of this when we return after the break on Drinks with Things.
Is this interesting?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, cool.
Hey guys, we're back on Drinks with Binks with Michael Smith, Collaboratory Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer.
Think people are sticking around?
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm not bored them to death with all my shit.
Trust me, people are sticking around.
I'm I don't know that my shit is.
We promised them that you're going to get naked at the end, so that's why they are waiting to tune in.
By the way, these pants don't look too tight sitting down, do they? Like, I look all right? Okay, cool.
Well, it's too late now if they do it out. Okay, so, but gotta ask you, when you were mentioning kind of the
it's my third one, right?
Yeah, we didn't really put a lot of alcohol in there because I don't want you having any problems. So
I'm okay.
It's like my mom giving me my drink now if I ask my mom to make me a drink.
I'm not slurring, just so you know. I'm not, all right.
But you mentioned kind of like...
What's the record? I'm sorry, what's the record? Who has consumed the most cocktails?
I think it's you.
Really? Oh, my God. Your
and our first one.
Capital
First one
T.
we were.
Your guests are soft if they haven't gone through
People
three.
Get scared because they don't know what they're going to say.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we have all these PR people coming in.
Because they work for places like Disney.
Yeah, and they're like, what should we do?
Yeah,
there's no booze on Disney people come in. Anyways, it's another story. But speaking of Disney, when you mentioned sort of the decline of like opportunities, you knew that you're going to not be at ESPN anymore.
Right.
Just got to ask you, like, when things started to go like south with the Six, like what happened? Like what did you start to feel personally? Like what was the catalyst? And what?
Well, I would say I've actually drawn this. Again, I'm sorry, I'm a little tipsy, so I don't know if I'm using this properly. Line of demarcation. The last moment that the Six was actually fun was the day we recreated the Different World Open. And we brought back the cast of A Different World, and we ran that, and social media, at least Black Twitter, went crazy, loved it, right? That was the last thing that we did that felt like it was us. So bottom line is, John Skipper wanted to take his and hers and put it on SportsCenter. Now that I have the benefit of hindsight, I realize that SportsCenter wasn't the place for it, and as a society, we're not in the time for it. I think there's a lot of things that led to the demise of the show. People like to simplify it and narrow it down to one tweet. That wasn't what it was. There's a change in management, and much like any team, if you have a change in management, that regime has a different vision, or they didn't draft you in the first round, so to speak. So there was a change in management, number one. So therefore, a change in vision and different way of wanting to do things. That's one. But even before that, I think the biggest mistake we made was, like tomorrow, if it was pizza with Julie, okay? Be like, what happened to the drinking? It's like you start to introduce food slowly but surely, and now you got the whole meal going, right? We went from a Friday traditional SportsCenter, and that following Monday, it was two people having a daytime talk show at 6. That's too sudden of a change for such an iconic brand. And the viewer is very routine oriented, right?
Right.
So I wish we would have kind of eased into doing his and hers. And then the truth of the matter is, it's like, you know, we might have just been a show out of time. As in, like, look, where we are as a society, as a country, what was going on in sports in terms of the intersection of sports and society, vis-a-vis Colin Kaepernick, the Colin Kaepernick-led protest during the anthem. I don't think that audience, and, you know, imagine a demographic for that audience, I don't think that audience was receptive to two black people being unapologetically black the way we were. Let's just call it what it was. Again, so suddenly, like if I had to do it all over again, I wish we would have just kind of like hosted SportsCenters every now and then and integrated some his and hers segments along the way. But I think when they asked us to do it and said, yeah, do what you're doing at noon on ESPN2, do it on at 6 o'clock, and we're like, word, you sure? I think they looked at the skits. Right. I think they looked at the cute stuff, the fun stuff. I don't think they understood or appreciated the types of conversations that Jemele and I were having and how bold and unapologetic those conversations were. And so I don't think they understood that that's what they were going to be introducing to the 6 p.m. audience. But also it goes back to just the lack of chemistry with the staff and they didn't know how to produce us. And we were new to that SportsCenter culture.
Right.
So it wasn't one particular thing. It wasn't one person's fault. It just was a bad fit. It simply put, it was a bad fit. And I'll be honest with you, I'm sorry, I hope I'm not rambling, but I've lost track of my sense of time because of these three.
Yeah, that's the point of the show.
Because y'all might have stopped rolling for we were out of tape.
Everyone's left.
No, but I think it's just, I have such a clear, to quote the great American poet Eddie Vedder, I see things clearer now that it's in my rearview mirror. And I can appreciate what happened and why it happened in hindsight. Whereas if I'd have done your show, which I couldn't have because I wasn't trying to f the bag, but if I'd have done your show 6 months ago, I wouldn't have had this perspective on what happened and why. You know what I mean? Like, I'm free of, when I say I'm free, I'm not, most people leave ESPN and say, oh, I'm free of the shackles, or I'm free of the restrictions of Disney and ESPN. I can say what I want to say. I never felt muted, at least on camera. I wasn't going to be stupid and say whatever off camera and rip the company or nothing like that. And again, compromise, you know, my contract or even just, I have love for the company. I still do. I'm free from any bitterness or resentment that I felt months ago because of where I am now. Because without it, I don't get here.
Exactly.
And that's the journry.
Kind of a journey of acceptance in a way.
Exactly.
But I will want to get into this after the break, but you had said on Jim Miller's podcast. How
many breaks y'all got?
It's a lot. That they got what they wanted, which was Michael and Jemele muted. So I want to get into that in a little bit more when we come back after this break on Drinks with Binks. All right, we are back on Drinks with Binks. We've got our Henny and Lemmy.
You've been nursing that one for
Yeah.
Me on the other hand, I'm glad I Ubered over here, man.
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you what.
Good. Okay, you got Ubers in the mix, and we'll keep filling it up.
I'd be crashing at your place.
Yeah. Well, that's how it goes. I got the party going in New York all the time, and at work, which is great. Thank you.
Well, I'm about to get comfortable. Hold on.
Okay. Yeah. Get that pillow in there. Yeah. So just before the break, I was mentioning when you felt that you and Jemele brought his and hers, and you guys brought your own opinions and your personality to a very like a show that had already been so ingrained in people's mind and whatnot, and a culture. What you mentioned though that you felt that they got what they wanted when they muted you. When did you start?
Is that what I said?
Yeah. Oh, I did my research.
Aggressive.
No, but then they started having less and less interaction between the two of you. When did you start to feel that they do not want us to be Michael and Jemele?
Let's see. White supremacist tweet was the summer. Suspension, I feel like, was September.
Well, let's.
Jemele left in what, January?
Let's dive into.
I feel like it was fall winter 2017. I don't remember the exact date or show or month even, but it was fall winter 17, where it was just like just from a production standpoint. Like, okay, you got to understand, His and Hers was our show on every level. Okay, from soup to nuts, it was our show. Our faces were on it. Our likenesses were on it. We picked every line of the rundown. I wrote the lower thirds.
Wow.
Okay, like we did everything. We picked the B-roll. We picked the topics. We determined how long we wanted to talk about something. We tell the director, do not go to break. We ain't finished here. Like we ran His and Hers, and the staff came to understand that was the way for us to be most successful. Okay. And I didn't write the lower thirds myself. I'm sorry. We all, but it was, you know what I'm saying? Like it was. I don't want to exclude. I'm sorry, anybody else.
No one else.
No, my point is, I don't want to say I did it all myself.
Yeah,
my point is,
I get
like,
it. You're involved. You're involved.
Right. And so, but me especially, because Jemele, this is the good cop. I was the kind of the bad cop, right? So I was maniacal about the details of SportsCenter. That's what my point in saying all this. So when I got to SportsCenter, I did the same thing. SportsCenter, Michael and Jemele's our show, right? This is what I want to lead with. This is what I want to talk to. I'm writing my own copy. That's a given. Nobody's writing my copy for me. Okay, we're not doing this segment. This segment's going to be 30 seconds. This segment's going to be a minute. I'm in every detail. And you know, at that place, man, like producers don't take too kindly to talent taking ownership, which I think that's the way it needs to be if you're going to have a good show. So anyway, once that stopped, and once it was clear that we weren't making editorial decisions anymore, and not just that, where the content was not showcasing our chemistry, but rather putting us in the traditional anchor box, the two anchor box of, well, you're over there introducing this package, and I'm over here doing this interview. It's like, now I was like, wait a second, this isn't what we signed up for.
Yeah, you weren't together.
Yeah, so they got what they want. That is an aggressive statement. I think a lot of it just had to do with the noise. And at that point, there were just so many people perpetuating and peddling so many false narratives about our show, until I think whenever I said that, I was just in a place of, I just got sick of the bullshit.
I'm sure.
You know, from the outside, inside, wherever it was originating from, because I know what I put into it. I know what we put into it. I know the thoughtfulness that we approach these show with. Like, a lot of people started writing shit as if we just bum rushed the studio, like we taking this bitch over. Like no, we didn't just go take over SportsCenter. We were asked to take over SportsCenter. Okay, we were given that platform, which we appreciated, and we didn't operate independent of any kind of supervision. Like, we had producers and respected producers working with us. So I just got frustrated with the people that kind of acted like we would just run amok.
Yeah.
You know, that frustrated me, because now your commentary is my work product. If you don't like me or Jemele, or you don't like us, or even if you just don't like us at 6 o'clock, okay, I could deal with that. But the false narratives about what we were doing and what we were talking about and how we were approaching SportsCenter, as if we didn't appreciate the responsibility that was bestowed upon us.
Right.
I rejected that.
It's very ignorant. Now, I got to ask you, I mean, of course, how was it when Jemele did have the tweet about the president?
How was it?
Like, how was it?
It was wild.
How was it for you? How was it watching her deal with it? What was the inside like?
Watching her deal with it, I mean, there wasn't much to watch from the standpoint of like she's just a rock, man. Like it was never. You know, I don't have any stories of her struggling or crying on my.
No, I wouldn't think you would.
No.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you were looking for that. I guess what I'm saying is just like she was just even keel the whole time. You know what I mean? It was never any wavering on her part or anything like that. So watching her was just watching her usual strength and grace or whatever. Excuse me, got me burping and shit. Going through it for me,
Yeah.
for me, no, it was challenging because I felt like, you know what, Julie, I felt like I was on one hand, I felt like I was getting this credit, you know, I was getting these pats on the back, you know, that kind of felt undeserved, you know, like way to stand with Jemele. I'm like, well, what's the alternative? You know what I'm saying? Like, I always thought that people focus way more on the act of the tweet itself than the sentiment and the factual basis of the tweet. Mm-hmm. It's like, well, are we going to talk about the fact that it's true?
Yeah.
Or are we just going to focus on the fact that it was tweeted? As you know, and that anybody like, so she tweeted that water is wet. So we pissed that somebody said water's wet, you know? But for me, it was like, it was a tough spot from the standpoint of, well, we have a shared sensibility, and she's my partner, but I had a job to do, a family to support, a contract to honor, and, you know, even though she had kind of like emotionally and then eventually literally moved on from the show, I was still trying to press forward and continue doing the show to the best of my ability. Up until March 9th of 2018, I was until they told me I wasn't doing it anymore. I was doing the best SportsCenter I could. Whether the writing was on the wall, the internet, Twitter, Instagram, whatever, I was like, I'm going to do this show till they tell me I'm not. And, you know, because that's just kind of like my nature. I try to make things work even when they're not destined to work. And like I said earlier, I'm glad it didn't. It's all good. Like you know, like even if I felt like I deserved better, they didn't owe me anything else. And so I got paid. I had benefits.
You had many experiences.
I had great experiences that got me sitting there having Hennessy and lemonade with you.
Okay, and you've made it now. We have a lot more to talk about, but we're back on Drinks
How long
with
is
Binks.
the show? Holy shit.
It never ends. All right, we're back on Drinks with Binks with Michael Smith.
I think I've had a drink every segment.
And you have.
I think that's
You're the
pace
best
I'm on.
guest so far because we rank all of our guests. We have a big power rankings. You're number one. Okay, but I got to ask you.
Yeah.
I say this every single break too. It's like great journalism. Just like I got to ask you. Jemele Hill this week said that she would like to work with you again. Would you like to work with Jemele Hill again?
Sure. Look, I mean, we both got a lot. No, was that? I was swallowing. Was that weird?
They say when your voice goes up when you answer a question, you're lying.
Sure.
Yeah.
Sure. I like to work with, no, all jokes aside, man, I love Jemele, man. Like, I'm going to her wedding in 2 weeks. She's about to get married, going on a honeymoon. I'm still trying to figure out what's up and what's down with this. What's my title again? Executive Vice President, Chief Content Officer.
You know what you're doing, honey. You figured out
I'm trying to figure this job out. So we both have a lot going on. She's doing quite well. I'm happy for her. But absolutely, I mean, I am flattered. I wish all these people that want us to work together would have been saying that when he kicked off SportsCenter. Where the f were y'all when they were kicking us off SportsCenter? Like, why y'all wasn't making all this noise about us being together then? Shit. Anyway, no, absolutely. I mean, look, I look back on those are out of the 15 years I was at ESPN. The period from 2014, we renamed the show His and Hers, to 2017, November 2017, I think was our last show. That was the nirvana of my time at ESPN. The content we created, the moments we had, the chemistry we shared. I really think in many ways we changed the game, and it was a groundbreaking show. I mean, there had never been a non-comedic show, as much of a failure, quote unquote, as the 6 o'clock SportsCenter was. There's never been, that I'm aware of, in prime time, a non-comedic show led by two African Americans.
No.
let alone a show prior to his and hers where the woman was on equal footing as the man. Because as you know, the sports format is typically woman sets up man or men and gets out of the way, laughs, and maybe can get in where she fits in.
Right.
But is not
the centerpiece.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not the guy isn't sitting back and listening to her. So I really felt like, and not just that, the other thing I'm proud of about that show is the amount of people we gave a platform to that didn't have it or weren't able to truly showcase their full talents. A lot of them are stars on ESPN now. So yeah, short answer to your question is absolutely. I mean, if under the right circumstances, and about the right circumstances, I mean, can we do it our way? Right. Can we do the show that the content of the program that we know we can do? Yeah, I mean, it seems to be an appetite for it, which I appreciate. She's only gotten better. I kind of still suck at this TV thing, so I don't know.
Yeah. You're the one that wanted to bring this thing back in from break. You're already taking my job already, but I just wanted to feel it was like do TV again. I'm an anchor. I'm sorry. I know. But yes, I love her, and so absolutely. Thank you for asking the question. But I do. So we don't have the whole lot of time, but I just want to get your advice. And that you mentioned that you guys dealt. You brought a lot of political conversations to the table. Difficult for some people to even hear as an audience.
Well, sports and society and so-called politics intersected.
Agreed.
Sometimes unavoidable. Yeah, absolutely.
So going forward, if you were to give advice to journalists, to anchors, to national networks on how to deal with sports and politics, what would it be?
Ooh, great question, Julie. If I were to give advice, is be authentic, because I think if you are true to yourself and you speak from the heart and you speak from your perspective, I think you can live with the consequences.
Great.
Because what you're not going to do is make everybody happy. So
very true.
Live with it. Oh, you're trying to.
I asked you a really deep question.
You're trying to go. I got it.
That's the kind of journalist I am here on this program. Ask you a tough question and then bye. We got to go to break and we'll be back.
Okay.
I'm Adnan Virk from DAZN, and guess what? I satisfied my thirst with Drinks with Binks.
Welcome back to Drinks with Binks. I am Michael Smith, Executive Vice President and Chief Content Officer of Collaboratory. If content didn't come out right, well, because I'm on my sixth Hennessy and lemonade. Drinks with Binks presented by some sponsor who needs to get the on this train.
Get your ass up here.
This is a hit show.
Yeah,
Julie Stewart-Binks.
Thank you.
Thank you for letting me do that. It's been so long since I did that. It felt good to kind of.
Felt good. You're like, I'm back, baby. You never lost it.
I'm not retired. I got this fancy executive title. I'm still talent,
Yeah, of course. You never lose being talent.
No, for real. Like call me. Like I want to do.
Well, come on anytime you want to drink. I don't have a whole lot of time left, but we'll drink. We don't have to be
some fun shit. No, you can talk about this deep stuff.
No fun shit.
It's gonna be your lowest rated show.
I just get you drunk and ask you questions about ESPN. That's what happens on this show.
What's up?
All right, so we are.
We'll talk about sex and marriage and.
Yeah, we got that all in.
Okay.
Sex, good. Marriage, and that's it. Okay.
It'd be great if you can do both. Ideally, you want both.
We're gonna do both. And thank you so much, Michael. We can follow him, all his great stuff everywhere. And next week, Charlotte Wilder and Jessica Smetana from Sports Illustrated. We'll see you then. Bye. Nice.